Hello, and hope you guys are having a wonderful day. And if this is your first time tuning in, my name is Robin. My last name's Jardine, and I own Robin's Healing. And I started up my business. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say without charging. I started practicing in my business about 14 years ago. And I am an intuitive, and I have been all of my life. And over time, I've started really tapping into my tools. And so today's discussion, you're going to be able to find this on YouTube. Sometimes I share on Instagram or on my business, Robin's Healing Herbs on Facebook, as well as my personal right here where you are. And if you're watching, feel free to say hello. And also, if you do any like energy work yourself, what do you do for like self-love practice? What do you do to tap in for intuition and energy? Like, how do you guys heal? I'd love to know. So this is a little bit out of the ordinary for me, but this is what I energetically felt called into. And the other thing, and that's kind of how I work or function in my own life as an intuitive, I really trust in the universe providing me with information and taking me along my journey. So I've had a lot of issues, I guess, in my past, and it really held me back from living a healthy lifestyle. And so I guess that's why I became an intuitive or an empath, leader, business owner, I guess, slash coach. I'm still working on what I am and how I want to present what I do, as not everybody understands some of these things. And I guess that's why I wanted to go a bit deeper. And just kind of show you guys how I do things for myself, because it's really, really important that you work on yourselves as much as especially if you're a healer or an empath and things like that, that you're doing as much self work as you are for others. And I am going to be teaching a level 3 Reiki on June 6th. Hi, Valerie. So feel free to just share kind of like what you do and like, are you an empath and how you handle that, etc. Um, anyway, I'm teaching a level 3, and that's really going a bit deeper into opening up your intuition on a deeper level. So every time you get a Reiki level, you get a Reiki attunement, and it increases your abilities to tap in, which means we have to work on ourselves, right? And that's where a lot of people kind of can become drained and tired and things like that. And that's why this self-healing is super important, okay? So, the other thing I'm called into is next week I'm going to be doing all of my lives at 2 p.m. on my YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed, I would recommend it. And I really appreciate people who are supporting me that way, because my goal by July 1st is to increase my numbers on there. I also am doing that because I think it's important to feel more protection energy in certain platforms, which Facebook is not always the strongest. It's a great networking tool, but YouTube is a really great way where it can benefit someone who has a business as well. The people that are on there tend to get more out of it, because I'm going to just keep building and building in one area. But I really appreciate everybody who takes the time. Hi, Lisa. Feel free to share what your background is, how you help yourself, etc. Do you get drained, etc. And if so, why? But yeah, so that's the goal, is 2 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time on my YouTube channel live next week. And I'm going to do that Monday to Thursday anyway. And it just feels good to have that steady time so people know when I'm going on live, and then we can do some work that way, okay? And I'm gonna kind of let you guys lead. So if people show up and they want messages, if they want to learn tools, it can be a good platform for lots of different things. So the more you guys let me know what you need, the better it is. And again, really working on this healthy exchange with other people so that I can continue to live an abundant life. All right. So that being said, I'm working on myself, which is a little bit different today. But one thing that when I teach any type of classes or workshops, or even if it's in my day to day with friends, family, strangers, whoever's on my path, I always pay attention to the mirror energy of everything that we have going on within ourselves. It's kind of like there's always that reflection mirror energy with others, right? So we're always attracting people at our vibration, good or bad. So everything that I'm going to be doing for myself is still probably going to relate to you. But if I didn't share these things, then you wouldn't be able to connect it. Same thing, if you feel something in relation to me, but you don't go and express it, then it's going to create like less expansion, right? So I'm a firm believer that we're meant to share thoughts and intuitive messages. So if you are an intuitive and you tap in and you understand how you tap in and that sort of thing as you develop your skills as well, if you're not using your gifts and if you're not sharing your gifts and you're not expressing and releasing it and being really proactive and letting go of the ego, it's so easy to get headaches. It's easy to get sick. It's easy to develop a lot of unhealthy patterns. So as you keep going and as your intuition gets stronger, you actually need to do more work on yourself. And there's a reason why people aren't interested in becoming deeper connected to their, like, they don't want to explore this energy because there is so much work that comes with it. And I do feel like more and more work starts to come in. And if you want to work, that's fabulous. And if you don't want to work on yourself, that's okay too. Because I do believe that we all have that path, that life path. And if you feel called to, um, helping other people with their issues, that's fabulous. And if you don't, you have some other purpose, and that's okay too. But we all need tools to deal with stress, and we all need to listen to that intuition. So no matter who you are here on earth, we're all meant to learn to like let go of control and learn to listen to ourselves and understand what that means. And again, this is my opinion. But I started my healing journey with cards, and I'm in a tribe, in a tribe with a bunch of people, and our leader of that tribe, it's a really like protective space too. I really love it. He's saying like you don't need cards, right? You absolutely don't need cards in order to tap in and heal and understand. You don't. And we rely on tools sometimes and become dependent. So keep that in mind. We want to connect to as many different tools as we can and trust the ones that we're guided towards. But the whole point is to eventually be able to get to a point where when you're not dependent on a crystal, you're not dependent on your candle or anything. You literally just have you and your body and your mind and your spirit. And once it's all kind of like connected and feeling good, that's really all you need. And we tend to be a society these days where we latch on to people, we latch on to medications, we latch on to negativity, technology, food. There's tons of stuff, but we can actually go a really long time without needing a lot. And that's really been a big part of my journey, is simplifying life and getting back to really, really, really simple things. Hence me doing all the natural things versus the other stuff, right? But our nervous systems are really overstimulated. So going back into all of my unhealthy issues I've had in the past, I was really one of those people who needed to express, and meaning like I just always felt like being so sensitive that I had to get things out of me. And if I didn't, as a younger person, if I didn't feel like I had a close enough friend to talk to, or if I didn't, um, even like my journal was a big part of my journey. Basic pen and paper, but it felt like if I didn't have a way to get the energy that I was feeling that was heavy and negative out of me, it got stuck in me. And so Reiki, of course, for me became a major tool that opened me up to pretty much all of my gifts. But that was a little bit later for me in life. So for a long time, I just had a lot of this stuck, stagnant, to me, really gross, unhealthy energy that I didn't know how to access. I didn't have tools. And it really developed into some major issues. I had some mental health issues. I had some actual like emotional health issues. Um, and a lot of it was just like I would isolate and I would hide, even though I was a person who was actually very I want to just say like extroverted, someone who actually fed off of other people's positivity. But what would happen is if I didn't have those positive people around me, I was like a sponge being an empath for other people's negativity. So I would find myself always helping people with their issues and things like that and forgetting about myself. And so that was a really, really, really rough time as well in relationships because I always attracted people who needed help. Boyfriends with like addiction issues or those narcissists, right, who that are abusive. And that's really common for sensitive people to have people around them that are kind of like sucking them dry. But there's something going on within ourselves when we do that. So I had a lot of self-esteem issues. And it was my self-worth and me not doing self love practices and me feeling like I would blame other people sometimes for my own issues because I didn't know how to deal with them. So when people hurt me, I would blame them for hurting me. And I would take things very personal. So that being said, these have been a lot of powerful life lessons for me, and the cards were just something energetically that I was drawn to that I could do for myself. And so it was really cool. So every day I would like read about what the cards meant. I would sit and I would do a spread, and then I would write down, what the card meant, how it kind of related to me in relationships and things like that. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And it's something I kind of stopped doing and I'm getting back into doing for myself because I do highly recommend, like when you pull out cards for yourself, I find you think that you know yourself sometimes or you think you know your situation, but when you read cards for yourself, you're kind of like, oh, that makes sense to me. I just wasn't thinking about it in that way, that sort of thing. So it has a lot of wisdom and knowledge in itself. So if you can start to learn how to read cards, I think that it's a really great tool for anyone and everyone to be able to just like pull out and really work through some of those issues when you are alone and you don't have other people to talk to. Okay. So, writing and journaling is another amazing tool. Okay. So, I already wrote something down. And the way that this works for me is I actually just get impulses and urges to write when I feel that a message is coming on, okay? And the way that that happens for me is just my physical body will want to go somewhere and I let it. I listen to it. I feel into that. And that can take a bit of work to actually listen to your physical body. But you have to clear out your own head a lot, right? So you have to get lots of healing sessions, I find, to be able to, and get other people to help you in order to really clear out the head and clear energy out. And of course, like, um, smudging and things like that can help, as I've discussed in many other videos, and through my products they're really great for cleansing as well. Of course, nature can help, crystals can help, but what happens to me is I just let my pen just start to automatic write. And so again, it's an urge. But if you don't feel urges to write, and that's okay, that's not everybody's tool. But you can do like journal prompts. So you could just Google what some good journal prompts are, and then you can start to write about specific things. But the other thing you can do is you can actually have some dialogue and communication with yourself or spirit or God or however you choose to, ask for guidance and things like that. And the other thing you can do is you can call in energy as well. So I can ask for my spirit guides, and again, this is just like how I do things sometimes is I can ask for all my spirit guides to come forward. Any loved ones that have crossed over that would like to be present. So I had a client recently pass away at 2 p.m. She comes and hangs out with me pretty much from 2 until 3. So that's why I chose 2 p.m. to be coming around 2 p.m. to be coming on here and doing my lives next week because I feel more connected. I can ask for my ancestors to come forward as well. When I learned about the Akashic records, I started to do more work with my ancestors and communicating with calling ancestors in and communicating with them specifically, again, if you believe in that. But just to call in your ancestral energy can be really powerful if you feel like you need more support and more guidance, okay? You can call in fairy energy, dragon energy. There's so many different things. Angels are another one when we feel like we have some fear or we have some ego energy or worry. We need to feel more calm and relaxed in order to listen. You can call in specific angels, whatever you like. So that's what I do, just to help bring the energy in. Okay. So this is what came through in my little journaling. Lunar eclipse. So we just had a lunar eclipse, is helping us with darkness, okay? So I'm like, oh, okay, because like I'm not thinking when I'm doing this, I'm just being present and trusting, okay? So to me, then I just allow that to come out, and then I interpret it, and then I analyze things. So I don't interpret or analyze things when I'm doing what I'm doing. I just feel into the energy, and then afterwards is when I actually start to kind of identify with the symbolism and the meanings behind it. And so, hi Nancy. So we all have different ways of analyzing, judging, interpreting. And we come up with our own meanings and our own symbolism through repetition and practice, right? So, but we get to decide what the symbols are. So, for instance, if my meaning of a lunar eclipse is change, then that's my meaning for a lunar eclipse. So right away when I hear lunar eclipse or think about an eclipse, I think about change, okay? So another thing you could do is start a little book of your own symbols if you'd like to tap in more frequently. And that's something that I'm learning more structure around symbolism and things like that. But for the most part, I just kind of practice and play. I don't take it too seriously, but these are just little tips, okay? So lunar eclipse is helping us with darkness. To me, darkness is what is like shadow work. So I'm going to get the words that hold meaning to me, okay? Or if you're helping somebody else, if you choose to help somebody else in this form, then you're also going to trust that you're going to get the words that hold meaning to them. And it's not always your job to like decode things for other people. Sometimes it's just up to you to pass along the information if you choose to, if it feels right for you. And then the other person can choose to take that with them moving forward. And as time evolves and when they have the time to start kind of like breaking down, what some of this energy all means, then they're going to have their aha moments, their awakening moments, their epiphanies, things like that. So not everything comes in the exact moment. So that's part of timing as well as just allowing time to unfold. And that's a big part of just trusting and being present, okay? So lunar eclipse is helping us with the shadow work. So that's just important to identify when we're working with full moon energy. It will change our lives in order to move bad thinking. Very interesting. So it will change our lives. I thought that was quite powerful when that message came through. Because sometimes we take things, we're thinking, it's just a full moon, just a lunar eclipse, just a supermoon. It's just Mercury retrograde, but it's a lot of stuff all happening at once. So when something's going to change our lives, I fully feel like it's all the intensity all happening at once. And it's forcing us to have to look within ourselves. So in order to move bad thinking, right? Whenever I think about moving anything, it's action related, right? It's something is in a state of action. It's not stuck, it's moving. And bad thinking is basically like negative thoughts, right? Depression, like self-hate, things like that. So it really feels like that's where we're at right now, is that we're learning to kind of deal with ourselves, which I actually think is great, because some people are stuck in isolation. They're blaming other people, they're getting angry at other people, they're projecting a lot of their own crap onto other people. They're sucking a lot of people negative. There are a lot of negative people sucking positive people's energies from them, so that they can kind of take anything that they can because they feel so crappy, right? So there's all kinds of different energies out there, but the whole point is that we have to work on ourselves to make sure that we're not hurting ourselves or hurting other people, right? That we're staying true to ourselves, etc. So then the message was, you will need to share more. So, which is interesting, because that's what I've been kind of saying, is I'm really starting to work more on expressing what needs to be expressed no matter what. And also that sometimes that's good and bad things. It's kind of like not putting a filter on things, right? Not making everything seem better than what it is for the sake of other people, so we can keep people in their comfort zones, that sort of thing, right? And that's the challenging part, I feel like, about being extremely intuitive, is you can easily become depressed or have anxiety because you're so like such a feeler, that you have to, it feels like, be more mindful than some other people have to be, because you're going to take things almost twice as hard sometimes, right? The bigger your heart is, the more things hurt. So the more we heal ourselves, and especially that heart chakra from like past relationships, things like that, now we have to be vulnerable. Now we have to be like, we're more susceptible to negativity. So a lot of people will close off, keep stay in their comfort zone, and hide and things like that. Even I find when people, I was being told as well, so I'll get information through my clear audience. It's like someone is directly speaking to me. That's what it feels like. And feel free to share if you also are clairaudient, or how you receive information through the clairs, if you know of them. But the message was that there's someone that watches my videos but doesn't tell me that they watch them. So they could be like a secret watcher, right? They never want to come on and show that they're watching, right? And so that's kind of what I'm talking about, is when we put on when we don't want to come out of the closet with our baggage or our secrets, and we don't want to be vulnerable and scary and things like that. We want to stay in a state of fear. Nobody wants to stay in a state of fear. It's just really scary to have courage. It's really scary to actually be yourself sometimes, because of other people judging and stuff like that. So self-acceptance is exceptionally important as well. So as I said, the intention is to help me. So by speaking a lot of these things out loud, through verbalizing for myself, I'm able to actually hear myself speak. So I'm creating, it's kind of like for me, by speaking and sharing, I'm actually able to hear myself back and be like, oh, interesting. Because everything I say, I actually have to follow through and take action on, because if you go and say something and then you're not following through with that, then it's kind of like, well, what's the point of having these values and actually not respecting yourself, if that makes sense, having more self-respect. So, cards, writing, speaking, sound is another great tool. So I was feeling called to this one. I find lighting a candle, also for me. I'm a fire sign. I'm very attracted to fire. There's something really powerful about and relaxing for me. I just feel really connected. So again, that's for me. But I find a lot of people, if you're looking to tap in on a deeper level, light a candle. And a lot of times, white candles can have more significance, stronger energy from a love perspective. But always trust what colors and energies you're connected to in the moment, because colors have really strong significance. So I'm wearing orange today. And so if you look up what the meaning of orange is, just from a chakra standpoint, it's emotional energy. It's the where our womb is. When I think about the womb energy, that's very motherly energy, very feminine. So I'm kind of coming on here and really speaking more about nurturing and calming, and intuitive work is feminine, moon work is feminine, etc. So sound is one way we can clear energy, as I was saying, getting rid of negativity, negative thoughts in our head. So if you just hit it, it makes a sound. But with the other thing we can do with sound is, as we already called in ancestral energy or spirit guides, we can set an intention with our bowl for the sound that we're meant to have, that will help us with even like heart chakra, or I can just say for anything I have going on. And then again, just like writing, I'm just gonna see what happens. So all right, so from an energy perspective, I felt a lot of that in through here. And as I was saying earlier, when you get like a lot of strong intuitive messages, you can get like headaches and things like that. Yesterday, I was hanging out with a friend who was feeling a lot of anxiety, but I also know that she's quite a powerful healer, but she's not really using her healing abilities, because she can also connect with spirits and that sort of thing. So I was kind of feeling a lot of her energy yesterday, and it felt like I had so much pressure here. So that was telling me like I was feeling into her energy and picking up on her stuff, and it was like I was feeling it for her. And it was really tight there. So although I'm not feeling it as badly today, I know that I needed to come on yesterday and do like longer talks, and do some readings for people. That's why I came on here today, because I was still feeling a lot of like pressure. So although I was picking up on a lot of that mirror energy with her, it's also was still related to me as well. It's like, okay, the more people you start exposing yourself to, even online and things like that, you're getting so many downloads, and there's so much pulling energy that we really have to make sure that, as I said, that we're getting that information out. So if I weren't coming on here and getting that energy out that way, I would probably have to do a lot of writing to get it out that way as well. And of course, like yoga is another great thing. So I'm being called to getting into that on a deeper level this week. So I'll be doing more of those videos. But the sound, what I was feeling with that, as I started visualizing Reiki symbols in my bowl, which was really cool. So that the bowl would start vibrating that healing energy. So of course for you guys as well. And I drew in a very calming symbol. I also drew in like a deeper connection symbol to like remove blocks. My head's feeling a lot lighter. I actually feel like it just like moved energy out of my crown. But breathing was really coming up. I was like, okay, breathe, breathe, breathe. It felt like it was very slow the energy was very slow to move. And I really had to like breathe during it. So these are really important things when you're working with your own tools, that you're listening to what you're being called to while you're receiving healing. So if I'm doing healing on someone and they're not breathing and I'm not telling them to breathe, that's where it's kind of like it's going to take, sometimes it could make them feel worse if they're not allowing themselves to receive, right? Sometimes it can just take a lot longer. And so the more open we can be, the better it is, okay? So that's kind of what, obviously that message is there for me, to just to be more open. And that makes sense because there are some people in my current life that I'm not fully being super honest and open with. And the reason for it is because it's related there's someone in my life who doesn't want, it's like they don't want me to be fully open and honest with someone specifically. And it's all fear related, ego related, judgment related, but I'm doing my best to be respectful of their desires. But there comes a time where we have to be respectful of our own wishes and trust that it's okay to focus on what we want, that sort of thing, right? So we're not being controlled by other people, but also we're being respectful with others. And actually that came up with someone yesterday, that friend, about boundaries and how sometimes we have to let go of relationships when people aren't respecting our boundaries, right? So we want to be respectful and listen to other people's wishes, but we also have to be true to ourselves, right? So again, if I weren't doing this and talking about it, I probably wouldn't think it's that big of a deal. But when I take the time, I'm like, oh, okay, I think I need to have a conversation with somebody about this because I think it's going to make everybody feel better in the circumstance. It's just maybe I'm the one that needs to initiate the speaking and the communication, because not everybody is a messenger, not everybody's a great communicator. So sometimes we just have to take the action, right, to get rid of any negative energy that's been going on. So the way I did my cards was I was talking at the same time as I was shuffling. So that means I'm like, everything I was just talking about is now the energy that became put into the cards. And then I just pulled them out however they want it to come out. So you're seeing a theme with everything that I'm doing, right? I already called in energy. I'm already holding space for myself here. So, and as I said, I find my own symbolism. So what started to happen to me over time was lately anyway, I would start doing theme cards. I'm just noticing, okay, there's always like one card that wants to pull up at the top of my deck. So I'm like, okay, well that just feels like a theme card. So I'm actually making up my own way of doing it because it's feels right. Okay, so sometimes we overthink too much. So I'm gonna breathe, and when I breathe, I'm gonna let out like any heaviness or worry or fear that I'm feeling right now, especially where I'm right now. I'm still working with other people's energies because I'm just feeling a tightness, right? So that's the other thing too. Whenever we come on to places like this in group settings, we want to make sure that we're cleansing our energy when we're in spaces with other people, that we're doing all these, like getting out of our own ego, getting out of judgment, dropping into our heart space, being in a quiet place for yourself, even right now, being on here, maybe being outside when you're listening to this. If you're thinking negative thoughts, just do your best to change them over, say some positive affirmations. I'm already starting to feel better, right? So I feel like sometimes we forget, again, about that mirror energy of how like I guess all connected we really are, right? So we might think, oh, again, if you're hiding behind the screen and not saying hello, that energy is still felt. It's felt from me, it's felt from others, because nonverbal is stronger than actually communicating with our voice, because the energy that you're saying in your head is actually the most powerful. Okay, so keep that energy in your mind healthy, okay, if you can. So the Wheel of Fortune, Angel of Destiny. So actually, I did a little clearing on myself earlier today, and I had some throat chakra stuff going on. So it also makes sense that when I'm going that I'm doing some clearing. Okay, and the throat chakra is communication, it's trusting and things like that. So it's also teaching, the throat chakra is kind of teaching us to get out of our head and like stop thinking, and just kind of like, as I was just saying, just drop into the heart, come from a place of love, just constantly focus on all the amazing things that you have, right? All the beauty that's in our lives right now. So that's kind of our theme card, is recognizing how powerful we are. And I see a sword in the card, so that's about cutting energy cords with other people, so that if we're sensitive, that we can really feel really good in our own energy, pretty much all the time. So actually, I took a shower today, and when I did that, I asked for any negativity to kind of like be cleansed from me. And then I asked for any energy cords that were attached from me to anybody else to be cut. So, like, the key thing here is just like trust that you have that power, that negativity doesn't have to control you. Being an empath doesn't have to be negative, and that you're always the one that has to, like, you're the one that gets to use your tools to continue to feel better, right? So tools are really powerful. I have Ace of Cups, love. So aces are new beginnings, where I was just talking about full moon energy. I did a full moon release. If you watched that video under my YouTube, you can see what I wrote under my full moon ritual, which was actually like negative people, and very interesting how it's connected. Love is in the card. We were just talking about dropping into the heart space, focusing on love. It's really challenging sometimes, I find, to stay in a state of gratitude all day long, because it is work. It does take some energy to be constantly focusing on being positive. But I've been focusing recently on a dream journal, and I also have a dream pillow with herbs in it next to my pillow. It's not in my pillow, but a lot of energy has been coming up through my dreams, a lot of symbolism, and I do find that that's really, really helping me more with relationships. It's helping me more with dealing with some of my past life throat chakra issues. A lot of the issues that I have with my throat are very much related to some really intense stuff that's happened to me. And so I feel very grateful that I'm receiving all these nightmares and intense things, because that's something to celebrate, right? That I get to work on that stuff. So yeah, dream work is something I'm going to be teaching and doing a lot more of. And I feel like dreams are really powerful, so I feel like that's kind of what's coming up, is to start sharing that. The Fool, Angel of Abundance. So I also have a spray here that I've been working with. It has a little bit of cinnamon in it, which attracts abundance as well, but it also has Palo Santo, which is great for positive energy, and it has sage in it as well for removing negativity. But I just felt like I needed to break energy up there and just kind of cleanse my energy field, because often when we bring energy up to the surface, we can go back into that old energy just by bringing it up. So what we want to do is remove it, right? So when I do theta healing, on myself. Sometimes I do it like all day. Sometimes I won't do it for a day, but I already started doing theta healing on myself earlier, and I didn't close up the energy. I didn't integrate it yet. So that's telling me that there's some energy around this that I need to pull. So if you'd like to say yes to these downloads, since I'm doing it on myself, but you like the download, all you have to do is just comment yes, and then I'm going to do that for you guys as well. Okay? So no coincidence I'm holding the Fool card while I'm saying this, because the Fool represents, again, a new beginning, the start of something. So I think that this is related to, as I was just saying, like more like practice on myself, and like really listening to like what I'm being guided towards, right? So so would you like to let go of feeling afraid of connection? And if so, say yes. So I'm doing that for myself, and then you guys. And then what will happen is I'll, through clairaudience, hear words. So okay, so all I was getting there was trust, trust, trust. And the way that I do these theta healing downloads is the same way as I do everything else. I'm just like, okay, I know that I need to do this, and then I just listen to like what I feel, and then that's what I know I need to do. Okay, so a lot of it is also that feeling of just inner knowing too, and we can develop all of our clairs. So I get trust, trust, trust. Like, okay. So then we pulled negative energy. So what we now want to do is add positive energy. So because we're getting trust, and I'm working on throat chakra, chances are you are as well. Probably some shoulders and stuff in the head, any type of feeling like clouded in the past, brain fog, things like that, worry, other people's also shitty shit. Would you like to know that it's healthy to work on yourself? And if so, say yes. And then I breathe. So I allow that energy to start to flow. For me, I really have to get my oats out. So that's why I do some like heavier breathing. Okay, and I'm getting like that you guys are actually, this is exciting for you guys right now that you're able to receive this, which is fabulous. So would you like to know that you can also keep feeding into positive people, positive frequencies, positive influences, and just positive people? And if so, say yes. Okay. And so I'm here with you. Okay. I hear spirit coming forward and saying, I'm here with you. And I know Nancy is watching, and the same person whose energy that passed away that I feel comes in between 2 and 3. I don't know what time it is. Feel free to share. I know she hangs out around Nancy too. So there's no coincidence, right? So yeah, that's kind of just confirmation that she is around. And she has a very like soft voice, very kind and loving and supportive and happy and just gentle. So whenever we feel energy that's around us that's very loving and soft, it's almost like also like an angel. It's very heart-based, which is fabulous. So that's what we want to feel, is when we're getting messages from spirit, from our intuition, from our higher self, from our purest form, that we have. It's going to be very, sometimes a little faint. You might be questioning, did I really hear that? Or am I just making this up? Am I losing my mind? Things like that, okay? And when we get negative thoughts, negative voices, that bad thinking, it typically comes in a little more aggressively, a little more loud, and things like that. So that's just coming up because I think this is just a reminder to feel confident and strong when you're getting positive messages, to just like kind of like feel good if you're able to hear just positive energy, okay? And so of course that's for me because I'm doing a mediumship course right now, and I am getting, like, I am tapping into mediumship, and I think it's just about also feeling comfortable to share that, right? Again, that's the letting go of the ego. So now I feel like calling Reiki energy in, okay? So I'm breaking energy right now. I am creating like kind of like heat in my hands. Also, this is part of like cleansing and charging. So heat is a way that we can create energy. As we know, when we're cold, we have to get warm. So I'm going into prayer. I'm calling Reiki healing energy for myself and therefore you guys. I'm drawing my symbols, and my hands are starting to vibrate. And I'm breathing. And I'm going to put my hands on my heart and on my chest, which is no coincidence that that's coming up, right? Because that's what we've been talking about. And I'm breathing, and I'm feeling into this energy. And I'm getting into a meditative state, okay? And I'm really breathing, letting energy out through my breath, and visualizing negative energy leaving and any heaviness that's there. I'm shifting it over into light, into love. I feel, again, intuitively wherever my hands want to go. I'm putting up a white light around me. Ooh, that feels good. Sometimes I'll add some reflexology in. I'm taking the energy and I'm removing it. So even though I'm working myself, I'm also working on you guys. So you might be able to kind of feel into this yourself. Again, it's going to depend on who's around you right now, what your tools are. And another thing that's coming up, I'm getting an intuitive message. I'm getting like more of an angel feeling. And I'm hearing, you are my angel. And I'm hearing, we're both here, because I have a friend named Laura that she's always around me. And actually, after she died, I had a reading. And one of the messages that came through from my friend Kalina, she's awesome, by the way. If you ever want to get a reading with Kalina, she's very cool. She also has a YouTube channel. So that's my shout out today, Kalina Smith. She does a lot of like soulmate stuff. So if you're single, you're curious about that stuff, I get readings from her often. Just letting go through breath, just opening up. So now I'm feeling guided to kind of like adding some yoga into this as well, moving some energy here. So Kalina's message to me after Laura dies is, she said, you're my guardian angel now. Or sorry, I was hers when she was alive, because I was always doing healing with her and doing anything I could to help her on her journey. And then her message was, now I'm your guardian angel. So we did a trade. But the whole point was like that. I think spirit, like Nancy's the other lady whose energy I'm feeling. I'm getting that they're both there together and here with us. And they're really appreciative when we're when I'm helping other people, because I know Laura has a good friend that watches videos, my videos, and then I know like Nancy's watching my videos. So anyway, that's the whole thing, is spirit just wants everybody to be and feel loved. And sometimes when people pass away, if people just knew that spirit doesn't, that loved ones that have passed away, that they just want you to feel good, that they don't want you to be sad, they don't want you to be lonely, or they don't want you to feel upset or depressed and things like that, right? If we just knew that they were there and giving us so many messages and so much love, I think we would feel less isolated. As I was sharing, I have felt tremendous amount of like loss and trauma in my life as well. And I must say, as I've started calling in these energies and started really tapping in more, I feel so much more alive and so much more passion and desire to live, which is fabulous. It's like life just gets better. And what's interesting is, although I was feeling spirit, that sort of thing, it's like I was seeing a spirit across the street, which is weird, but not weird. And it just feels like a grandfather. And sometimes, like, certain grandfathers can be a bit silly. A lot of males like to play jokes, and spirit is they're not always serious, right? They're jokey, and they laugh, and they want us to laugh, and just again just feel like they like it when our hearts are full. Okay. Okay, so still clearing some energy there. I'm closing up on that energy, and I'm also so putting in my gratitude, and let me know if that feels good. And I'm also going to integrate that theta healing energy. So if you'd like that, just say yes. And what else is coming up around this is all like so super trippy, is there's more conversation here that I'm connecting to around our spirits and dimensions and things like that, that some people believe that our spirit can be in more places than one place at a time. So if a loved one passes away, like that they can be with you in your living room, and they can be here with me in mine, right? And so that the energy is everywhere. And that's what I'm kind of getting as well, that like my energy is not just here, that my energy is also in other places as well. And that's what's so cool about distant Reiki healing, is that we can do healing, like I can be doing healing on someone in Africa, right? Even though I'm right here. And I can also be doing healing on someone somewhere else. So that just means that our spirit is everywhere and energy is everywhere at all times, right? So that's where time can get really confusing for people, because some people stress so much about time, when a lot of that is just like it's just some people think that time is an illusion, right? And so it's our job to feel like time doesn't exist, right? There are a lot of people that get bored, and I find that really interesting, because I was bored in my life as a child, but and sometimes I think when we get older, sometimes time can feel longer. What time can feel what I'm getting is that this person, again, this spirit, is saying that her life was cut too short, right? She didn't have as much time as she thought she would and would have liked to, and all that stuff. And so that can happen, right? Sometimes our life path just, it comes to an end. And that's where there's a lot of beliefs around that too. Like, do we already have a set path, like when we're supposed to die? Or like, how does that work? And I think that there are some things that we don't need to constantly be trying to figure out. And that's where, as I said, we can overanalyze things. So that's where it's like, I do feel like even though I do future readings, and even though I do like past life, I do think it's really important to read energy in the here and now. And that's why these live videos are fabulous. So I'm also going to say thank you to all those spirits that are coming forward and communicating, but now I'm going to set a boundary with them and just be here like in the moment, because that's really important to do. Okay, Queen of Wands, creativity, makes sense. So for me this week, I'm taking care of someone that is sick right now, and we're going to have a creativity week. So we're going to do some painting, and we're going to do some, I don't know, we're going to do some cooking and stuff like that, just to really like work some of her stuff out that she's feeling, but again, things that I'm feeling as well. So really looking forward to that. I'm also feeling really called into doing some intuitive paintings. And of course, I'll share the readings from those paintings. So, hi, Sarah. If you're just hopping on, I would recommend watch from the beginning. Say yes to all the clearings as well that I'm doing. Even if you're catching the replay, I really think it's important, as I said, to verbalize things, to write things out. When you say something out loud, it puts things into reality. That was the other thing that I wrote on my vision board a couple days ago. I wrote down positive people, which is interesting. There's no coincidence that all these things are coming up in relation to what I had already written down that I'd like to attract, right? You're welcome, Sarah. Okay, so Two of Swords, uncertainty. Excuse me. So this card is telling me that we have to deal with things in the now. Okay, so if anybody has a question and they would like a message, I'll do that for you right now because that feels right to do. So Sarah, if you'd like a message, or anyone, yeah, that's just coming up. Okay, so again, as I was saying, like sometimes I think I want to do one thing and then spirit pulls me into another direction. And I find there are a lot of, I've really been clearing out energy-wise people that are like control freaks. So I would have sometimes people like, the way I work is sometimes I don't know what's going to happen until it actually happens. So I'll, I feel like I've been attracting more open people as I'm working on being more open. Because I'll have somebody that wants to know, like, okay, well, I'd like to come to we'll say your retreat, but they want to know exactly who's going to be there, and they want to know at what time this is going to happen, and, all the details. And it's kind of like, okay, well, we'll set intentions when we all get together at the retreat. And then once we see who's actually there, then we'll all set intentions, and then that's how the day is going to happen, right? Because if we try to control a situation, then we're going to be the ones that end up kind of not getting the most out of it because we want it to control something before it even happened, right? So intention setting is really, really important. That's coming up. As well, to just once you set an intention, just trust that that's what's going to happen. Okay. Again, it might not happen in the way that we thought it would, and life surprises us, and it's all how we handle those life surprises, right? So the more tools we have, the easier it is to adjust to new things, new energy, and we want to embrace the new, right? Not everybody likes it, but anyway. Always yes, please, Sarah says. Okay. And Nancy. Okay, so keeping in mind there's a mirror here, so this is still related to me. Gossip, Page of Swords, Sarah. Okay. I'm getting that there's a lot of emotionally charged energy, okay? And what that means is when we're pissed off or upset about something, sometimes we constantly keep getting triggered, okay? We're going to keep getting triggered by the same things and the same people until we change the situation, okay? So, and by the way, I'm doing a retreat September 4th and 5th at Maven Hill Farms, and it's $250. It's a Saturday and Sunday. It's not overnight. It's 11 to 4, and food is included, which is awesome. And yeah, so that's $50 for your deposit to sign up. It's going to be amazing. Bring your mask. So yeah, Sarah, what's coming up here is don't be afraid to, you know, I guess like focus on what you need to focus on, okay? Don't be afraid to do that. So if you have fear around some of your heaviness that you feel, if you're scared to work on your fears, then you probably have a lot of fears because we don't want to attack everything at the same time, but we also want to move forward, right? Don't we? So often, I kind of feel like that's where suffering comes in. Some people believe that we have to suffer. Other people, so some people think that we're just here on earth to suffer, right? Don't celebrate, just life's tough, it sucks, this is the way that it is. And then other people are all about like, hey, we're not here for a long time, have a good time, let's party, that sort of thing. And I think it's kind of like we have weird beliefs around suffering. So that's what I'm getting, Sarah, is work on your limiting beliefs around the word suffering. Okay, if you need that as a journal prompt, because a lot of times people do suffer way longer than they need to, and that's where I'm going to leave that. Okay, I know I used to do that, and I'm just learning these things, so that's why I'm sharing them. But I do feel like after we can learn and master things, then we can start to teach, which is fabulous. Teach your children, teach your friends, that sort of thing. And so our students are always our biggest teacher as well. Or your children are. So Nancy, we have a Knight of Wands action. Love this card. So going back into symbolism, we already heard the word action at the beginning, right? So everything for me and my healings tend to come full circle. Where I start, I kind of come back and end, and that's how I also know when I'm supposed to end something. Because that goes back into timing as well. Sometimes it's like, even when you're working on yourself or somebody else, it's like, well, how long am I supposed to do this for? It's like until you feel that you're complete, right? We go off of the feelings. And that's where we kind of live in a really weird world where everything is kind of like timed, and it's really, really unhealthy. And these are kind of like negative patterns, right, that we want to actually break to live more freely and openly. We don't want to wait till we retire to get to that point to be happy and then end up sick, right? From so many years of living this really unhealthy way. As I said, simplifying. So there's no coincidence that I'm sharing all this when we're going into Nancy's energy. Excuse me. Okay. This is talking about relationships. And there's someone in your past that I feel like you have to let go of, okay? And if you don't go to therapy, I would recommend going to a therapist and just talking to them. Again, communication. I was feeling a lot of throat chakra there. Just talk to a therapist and see what they say back. Just be open to what they have to say. Sometimes just casual conversations with someone that has these conversations with a million other people, we can feed off of that positive energy. If you go to a therapist and you don't like the therapist, well, there's a trigger there, right? Somebody's triggering you. That's what we were just talking about. When you have the same triggers over and over, I've gone to 6 therapists and I don't like any of them, and they're all shitty. And it's kind of like, okay, well, what triggers you about all 6 of these people? Well, there's a pattern there, okay? So we want to work on that pattern. So that's what's coming up for you, is you're working on your own patterns. So rather than worrying about other people's like patterns and their problems and their crap, start focusing on your own. And it's like, okay, what are my unhealthy patterns? So that's the darkness that we're currently working on, okay, as a whole. So it's not just you. And ancestral healing would be good for you as well. And sound healing, okay? Excuse me. So would anybody else like a message? I have one card left here. I'm feeling called in to heal your body, Louise Hay, as well. The mental causes for physical illness and the metaphysical way to overcome them. Excuse me. And talking about triggers and things like that, what's coming up, okay, I had a feeling, Kelly. Perfect. So Kelly, do you have anything going on in any part of your body right now? Anything. Do you have a sore foot? Do you have, you're welcome, Nancy. Do you have digestive issues? Do you have a bruise? Anything like that. Feel free to share. Sore feet. Okay, perfect. So we'll look that up. But what a little trigger is coming up for me is my yoga instructor that taught me my yoga teacher training. Oh my God, yes, sore feet. Okay. I'm just going to take a couple deep breaths again if we can, so everybody can stay in that state while we're here. And anyway, so the yoga teacher told me, because I mentioned about this to her in the class, and she said, I'd be really careful about what you say to other people in relation to this, because some people don't agree with that, and then you have to be really careful because like it can come back and hurt you or bite you in the ass kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, I totally get that we need to be careful. But at the same time, that's where I feel like if there's always like, if I'm going to live in fear of like sharing what I feel, I'm not saying this is the way as much as it is I'm sharing what I feel, right? And whoever's attracted, again, that gets it, what I feel, that's great. They can accept it and we can share that cool connection. Or if I'm triggering somebody, again, that's where they can do some work on themselves instead of like blaming me for what I'm saying, right? And that's where, unfortunately, we are triggering people all the time, and it's not intentional. That's the thing. So another trigger for me, this is coming up, I guess, Kelly, as I'm speaking with your energy, is paying close attention to triggers. Okay. Not just like what you're feeling physically, but any type of old memories that you have with people that really triggered you and it keeps kind of coming up. That's just something you can also clear, pull, release, that sort of thing through. Well, if you book a session with me, I can help you with it. It's however you choose to work on that yourself. Journaling's a great way, but I do think Theta healing is amazing for stuff like that. I also had another person. I went to a retreat, and I was supposed to be like helping them with this retreat. And she was really into shadow work at the time, about talking about triggers and things like that. But she was actually, it felt like she was in her ego and purposely trying to stir negative energy up. So I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, it's really cool that you're working on all this trigger stuff, but we also don't want to like be in our ego and try to stir negative energy up. If we're doing it, it's not intentional. Again, there's a mirror there. We can just kind of step back from it and over time work on it as things come up, right? But we don't want to re-trigger old trauma in people on purpose. We want to go gentle with ourselves. So that's really come up in my Akashic Records training a lot as I've been teaching other people how to do Akashic Records. What's been coming up is, okay, like when you're working on something, don't pick the most intense traumatic experience. Pick something that's like, from 1 to 10, what's like your biggest trauma, like what's your least trigger trauma. Let's start there. Let's go from there. If you've done tons of work on your trauma, and if like you have PTSD and you've gone to tons of therapists and you've worked on this, then, and you want to work on that, that's up to the practitioner, right? But this is just coming up for a reason. That's like, pick things that are easy and simple for you and then work your way to more intense things. But that's coming up with this person as well. Like, it's, as I said, that shadow work is like, okay. So for me, the lesson, if we go back into lessons, would be with my yoga teacher triggering me by me talking about this, right? How I probably felt like a bit maybe that she was telling me what to do, like, but she was actually just giving me like guidance, if that makes sense. And I was choosing to almost like take it as her like taking my taking something from me rather than adding to my life. but that's again how I was choosing to receive the information. And I'm also working on being more open to receiving other people's guidance, if that makes sense. Because I've been getting readings, and I'm getting these amazing readings, and sometimes I'm like, okay, like, oh, I listen, but it's like they're saying you should do this today, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. And I'm like, no, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. So I kind of feel like that's what I'm getting, is to really be, when somebody that's giving me a reading is telling me to do something, then it's like, listen to that, right? Don't be like tomorrow. Just really take it in, okay? And then the other situation, this is kind of how I'm working. I'm just showing Kelly as well how we can like kind of work on those triggers, see the lessons, like see what else has been coming up today in these messages, and how we can kind of bring it together. You know, what are some things you'd like to attract for yourself based on those triggers? There's tons of ways that we can play with this, right? Excuse me, but that other lady that was triggering me, it felt like, as I was talking about her being in her ego, well, we all go through stages where we're more judgy than other times in our life. If we're like really stressed, if we're going through a lot, we might tend to gravitate towards a lot of judgment. So that would be another message for me, I feel like, would be um, going back into self-worth and things like that. I was going to this retreat to help her when I was actually in the middle of a move, and I had a lot of work to do, and I was putting my own stuff aside to help this woman, and then I felt like she wasn't having much empathy, and so it was like, okay, this was a learning curve for me to like focus on me first, right? So as I was just talking about all that stuff about the importance of self-care practices, doing healing on ourselves, that sort of thing. So there's always messages in this. So let's find feet. Feel free to share if you guys have this book. Somebody has some female problems that's watching this too, or going to be watching it. Fibroid tumors, menstrual problems, vaginitis. Maybe we're just meant to have a laugh saying that word. Dysmenorrhea. I want to say that's what I'm getting is when we think that we're fat and we're not, and it's the way that we I know for some reason this is coming up, but it's like when we are looking at ourselves in the mirror and we think that we're fat, when you might be like, you're seeing yourself as, we'll say, like 100 more pounds than what you actually are. So it's how we're looking at ourselves. Okay, that's coming up. And what we want to say is, I rejoice in my femaleness. I love being a woman. I love my body. Okay, that's coming up for somebody. And of course, Kelly, I presume. Feet represent our understanding of ourselves, of life, of others. Okay, so this is the affirmation that you can say. And this might be something you want to continue to say, is if your feet keep being sore, okay? My understanding is clear, and I am willing to change with the times. I am safe, and that's giving me loads of chills. But I am willing to change with the times. Boy, is that not suiting for what we've been talking about. And the card that comes with this is the Empress Angel of Abundance. And the Empress is all about feminine energy. So that seems to be really important. And doing creative things, right? So when you're feeling upset, or you're feeling, or just like nurturing others, sometimes can be very therapeutic as well. So if it's like baking bread and then giving it away to somebody, if it's I'm feeling called to making dream pillows, like actually getting into sewing, as I was saying, painting, things like that. So it's very, very therapeutic sometimes to just use use the intuition as well, play with cards, yeah, just exploring the heart, right? Exploring what we're passionate about, things like that. But what's coming, you're clairvoyant, okay? So I was starting to see visions while I'm still working on your energy, and you're seeing into the future, okay? I did some work with you already, so I know that you know what I'm talking about, okay? But you are seeing into the future through visualization. And so trust that. Trust that like you're being guided to like what your next step is, as I was saying, as my boyfriend's calling. So we're gonna leave it there. Thanks so much for watching this. Also, if you have some anxiety, things like that, um, I feel like there's somebody watching that does have anxiety. Um, and I think the big thing is getting closure on things sometimes can help with anxiety, because if you feel like you've never fully like let go of something that if it's like that's been coming up for everybody, right? Like, what are these things that you feel like you really need to just let go of? Because once you fully let go of this stuff, these triggers, they stop coming. Like it's not that you stop being triggered, because there are always going to be triggers, but you're going to stop being triggered by the same things, okay? And then the anxiety lessens, so we can manage it at least, okay? So have a wonderful day, guys. Bye for now.